Welcome everybody to Dead Talk Live. I'm your host Viz, and tonight we have a very special guest, Laura Wiggins. Laura, how you doing?
Doing good. Good to be here. How are you doing
I'm
tonight?
doing great, and I'm excited to talk to you. I'm a big fan of yours, and you have a lot of fans out there. You know, when we posted your promo pic, I got people from all over the world, India, Europe. Like, I love her. I'm like, great. Make sure you tune in tonight.
I hope they're all out there.
They're out there. They're all over the world. So let's get started. My first question to you is, how did you meet the Devan clan?
I mean, they just basically there was a casting director in LA that I really loved, and they were multiple mutual friends, and she ended up recommending me for the movie. And then when I talked to them, I was they were just like it was just like the shirt I was wearing, I guess, and they wanted someone, I guess, kind of like just your typical everyday gal to play Jordan,
Jordan.
because in the very first one, Ashley goes over the top, just crazy. So I think they wanted just like grounding in this one,
Yeah. And
which was fun to play someone who doesn't believe in what's about to happen to her.
no, absolutely. And, talking about Jason and Heather, you got to admire them. A family run production company, and they love what they do. I love talking to them for the full hour, and I got to bring Heather on the screen for the last couple of minutes as well. Uh, they said that you guys remain friends even after the production. Is that true?
Oh yeah, we hung out this summer. They came to Lake House. We were doing some surf. We were trying to learn how to surf this year. We had Cassius out there, who's, he plays the little boy in that. He's
Yeah,
not a little boy anymore. He's a teenager.
yeah, they grow up.
Both of his brothers were in it, and then PK, their older, wasn't in this one, but
That's awesome. That's
that
awesome. Was it a real family environment on the set for Along Came the Devil Part 2?
absolutely. I mean, they were. I felt like, and it's in a good way. You can have families together, and they're just constantly like,
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I felt like anytime they were picking at things in the script, like picking, like being very like careful, to make sure that they're having the conversations they need to be having.
Mm-hmm.
So they did great with that. I mean, you interviewed them, so they're funny. Like you can definitely tell Heather
Yeah.
and Jason are a married couple, but they're very productive. So
So when you got casted for Jordan in the sequel, what did you know about the first one? Did you have to go back and watch it? Had you already watched it?
I ended up going back. I hadn't seen it yet, mainly because my fiance at the time, now husband, is a little bit like freaked out with horror movies, and I love them, but I don't want to watch it alone. So I ended up having my like one of my really good friends in oops, sorry about that. One of my really good friends in LA, he watched it with me, and I mean, I just thought it was a fun ride, but I mean, it was scary,
It was very scary.
especially the church scene. And I don't want to give too much away, but it's a creepy church
I
scene. And
think we're kind of past the spoiler point. I think there's an
yeah,
expiration
and
on
Sydney
spoilers.
Sweeney gets this huge like meltdown where the devil's inside of her. It's insane. Um,
What'd
so
you think of the ending where we see them all not dead but locked up?
I just kept wanting, I think it's a really good ending point because you're constantly trying to, you kind of, part of you, the sadistic part of us, I think, wants to kind of write her off and be like, well, that's that for her.
Yeah,
Like, they never found her again. And then, like, with y'all's interview with Jason last time, he was like, well, it's kind of hard to get her back. So it's going to be interesting to figure out how they wrap all that up.
yeah. There is a
I
third.
just think that Sydney's going to get a magical break and we'll be able to have her,
We'll see. It'll be
right?
nice to get Sydney, Sarah back, the whole family, but we have to wait and see. What was it like? With Bruce Davison working with him as Reverend Michael.
Wow, he's like a genius, I think. Because there were certain times when, like, I didn't know if he was ready for his day. I'm not gonna lie to you. because he would just sort of be like, I don't feel like doing this right now. And then it would be like time for him to be on, and he'd be like, boom.
He's there.
You
Yeah.
know, and you're just thinking, I mean, and it's probably gonna make him. I don't want to make him sound bad or anything. I think it's funny, but it was his first. It was our first day on set, and sometimes actors will have we call it an eye line where you'll read with another person. Well, and I mean, I only did like 2 takes of this, and he goes, "Oh, it's something, something," and I said something, and that's what he said for his lines instead of saying his lines. And then it turned around, he wanted no eyeline for me, and he was just like boom, boom, boom. I was like, okay, well,
All right, this guy knows what he's
that's
doing. Well, he's been doing it for a long, long time.
yeah.
Now, when you watched the first movie after you got the role and you knew you were going to play the older sister, uh, like I told Jason that in the first movie, that the opening scene with the two girls, Jordan, being so loving, and that bond, it really tugged at your heartstrings. When you were just watching the first film, what did you think of that moment? And then the father showing up and the ugliness that pursued after that.
I'm glad you bring that up because I've watched that scene over and over and over again just because there's not a lot of relationship talked about. But those 2 little girls did an amazing job.
Yes.
Apparently, Jason said it was based on somewhat of a true story. And, my family, we have dealt with some addiction and stuff like that. So I feel like it helped me understand how much time that Jordan put into raising her sister and supporting her sister, and well, maybe not raising her, but like she has a very protective thing, but she also, that little girl had this like little bit of trust of her dad,
Yeah.
and, and I think that that's an important aspect of it,
Yeah.
because I think a lot of what's really scary in life is trusting people that you shouldn't trust.
Exactly.
You know?
Now,
And so you get that feeling for this film. Like, you think you can trust them, but can you?
exactly. Now, did that closet scene between Ashley and Jordan, did you draw any inspiration from that on how you were going to portray adult Jordan looking for your little sister who's missing?
I like to take what that little girl did in terms of, I felt like she was very careful. She was that kid that looks around and she's never big about anything, but she's always looking around and always watching.
Yeah.
And there's some, and I felt like that girl, that she had a very like reasonable, like I saw how reasonable Jordan is. Um, so I think those were the 2 things. I mean, it's so quick, but
Now, how do you feel overall, career wise, doing sequels? From original movies that did so well, and here you are going into a sequel. Do you feel a little bit of added pressure as an actor that you gotta, you know, bring it all to the table to make sure it at least meets or even surpasses the original within
well,
your
there's
control?
yeah, with all the stuff that was in my control, I mean, um, you feel the pressure, but on the day, you just sort of remember that these people aren't worried about like the characters you're portraying. They're just not worried about the movie.
Yeah,
But then, of course, once the movie comes out, then I'm like, oh gosh, like, and then you read the like a couple of reviews and you get freaked out and blah 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 blah. So I just ended up, I try to tune it out as much as I can. But definitely wanted to bring the energy. I mean, I don't want to show up to set and everybody else has worked on this movie and they're like, everyone on that set is like a family,
yeah.
So you definitely bring their energy and be a team player and do what you can.
How do you feel overall working on horror films? Is that, do you love it? Do you dread it? You said you
I
are a
think
horror fan, but you don't like watching them alone.
I think for a while it's so mixed because like there was a phase I had where I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to go there mentally. I didn't want to be covered in blood all movie and all of this. And now that I'm a little bit older, weirdly, I'm like, these are awesome. Like, let's do some like creepy, weird people things, you know? But like when I was in my 20s, I was like, I just want to play a
Yeah, not
pretty,
get
I just
dirty.
want to be pretty. And now I'm like, yeah, let's just be weird, like whatever.
Oh, you're
Let's
fun.
be
You're fun.
freaky.
You're a lot of fun. Uh, Now, did you do any kind of prep, special prep to get into the mindset of Jordan?
uh, I would, I would, would watch the clips from little girls sometimes, especially when I'm trying to figure out how to interact with the dad. And then I made a lot of the prep about her trying to get back at her dad, or her trying to understand him or figure that relationship out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as even though it really is about finding Ashley, but just trying to figure out like what's gone, like I guess he's changed all this,
Yeah. New
and
wife,
then
a new child.
yeah, and then I just tried to get like there's like that scene with the Bible. She's gonna do a seance, so I just wanted her to just keep being like nothing bad's gonna happen. I'm gonna figure this out. There's a logical explanation for this, and it's gonna be fine because it's not gonna be fine. So
No.
that's just so I just wanted to keep her in that mindset that everything would be totally fine. So then when it's not, I that was gonna trigger me a lot, I guess, to be freaked out.
Now, when you were filming like the third act of the movie, the ending, and your dad in the movie is chasing you with an axe, Jason said, he was paying homage to The Shining, um, with that particular sequence. Was that like physically straining to go through all the chase scenes and having this madman chase you with an axe and filming it?
I mean, it was late at night, and we had some rain going on there for a second, so it was. I mean, it was difficult, but I think it's kind of fun to just get chased around, and he was so creepy. Like the dad's makeup in that is like in real life,
Mm-hmm.
it just looked like it didn't look right, and he was playing around, of course, and like sneaking around. So I mean, if you wanted to play the reality of that, that was pretty easy to be in that mode.
Yeah.
And then but there was a couple of times where it was like 4 o'clock in the morning, and young Cassius Devan like is just like, I'm tired. Let's listen to like comedy rap and not do this. And then Jason would be like, okay, guys, taking the music away from y'all. Like, back to not reality.
What were now? You were also in Rings, a very popular franchise right there. What would you say were some of the the key differences in playing Faith in Rings and Jordan in Along Came the Devil Part Two? What would you say was the biggest difference?
I mean, I mean, obviously the size of the parts. Faith in Rings is once again is sort of here to dispel the legend, which is similar, I would say, to Jordan, who is here to be like, somebody took my sister, but she did not get possessed. And I
Exactly.
feel like Faith was there, like, okay, yeah, like if you watch a video, then you die. Which I was shocked she hadn't heard about that, because I had heard about that, but Faith hadn't heard about that. And
Yeah.
then the plane goes down. Um, and I just think they were in such, Jordan has an ability, is going to survive. Faith is going to die, and there's nothing she can do about it. So, wow. I guess there's a big difference. One's going to die. One has a chance of survival.
Let's talk about the differences, from the people behind the camera. Jason to Gutierrez, Javier. What would you say? Any similarities? Or are they two different, completely different directors?
I mean, Javi came from Spain, and he worked on The Crow or The Raven, but he had a very long indie film that won a bunch of things before that. So when Jason comes, I think he looks at it more like an American, where he's like, okay, this is what we have to get done today, and these are the shots I want. Javi's like, let's just look at what we have to work with today and we'll figure it out. And what looks good will be good. And if we get this footage and we don't like it, then we can shoot it again. So it was interesting to see that, like, because, the American producers, they're like, you know, huh? But, and I think that Javi makes, they both make beautiful movies, but that was the big difference between them is, I think Javi is all about like that like cinematography and
Yeah.
all this. But I don't think he has a plan in his head as to what he wanted to do.
He sort of just goes with the flow.
And I think Jason like came to work because it's kind of Jason's. It's not Jason's money, but it's this is not a Paramount budget. This is Jason's like I've got, and that's the other side of it is I'm sure if they're like here's millions of dollars, Jason, then he might be able to be like let's just come to work and figure it out. It's gonna be fun. We have crafty.
Now, both Rings and Along Came the Devil. Walk us through. Which one did you shoot first?
I did Rings quite a while ago. That was also here in Atlanta,
Yeah,
and um, and then Along Came the Devil too. I mean, that was crazy. It was we shot it summer of 2019 or spring, and it was out by fall.
yeah. It came out really, really quick. Do you think your part as Faith in Rings helped you get the role as Jordan in Along Came the Devil too?
It might have. I think
Have you
that
ever asked Jason,
mainly Jason said there wasn't anything. I don't think there was anything he really watched. He just like when he talked to me, he felt like, oh, that's who I want for that part, and that it was just sort of like a feeling, like that's what we're looking for.
Now, were there any moments on the set of Rings or Along Came the Devil where you found yourself just freaked out by the overall environment of the film? I mean, you're doing a make believe story, but whether it's the night setting, the props, the fake blood, or anything like that, they kind of freaked you out.
Well, we had the score, which was awesome, already there. So we listened to that score. We shot in some films that are some houses in Atlanta that are haunted.
Like
So
really?
that added a little,
Oh
yeah, or at least they
damn!
told us that to freak us out. But I think it was really really haunted. So I thought the music was great, and then there was something with like George Troster's like aesthetics, where if you really wanted to like zero in like this is real, it wasn't hard. I mean, I actually jumped back. I don't even think I told anyone this because I like walked. I don't smoke anymore because I just had a baby, but I used to smoke, and I walked outside for a cigarette, and there was like the head of the mom,
Hmm.
Heather's head, was just hanging in the garage, and I just looked up, and I mean oh, it was,
Yeah,
and
that
I think they even had the dead baby in there. I mean, it was the demonic baby.
that would freak me out as well. Would you say between the two scripts, what attracted you to each one? Faith and Jordan. Let's take Jordan first. What attracted you about the character of Jordan? I mean, besides being the lead, which is very attractive in
Yeah,
itself.
which
What?
is super fun, and just her, how much she just keeps trying and keeps working to do this next thing. She didn't. And I thought it was really cool that she survived this, and there's a possibility for the third because she's going to be such a different person after lived through this,
Yeah,
and she's already lived through hell, but this is a whole, this is the devil. so,
exactly, exactly.
so
Now, how about it's a smaller role with Faith. Is, I mean, is that the role that you originally auditioned for in Rings, or did you audition for another one but got the role of Faith?
Uh, so everything had been cast, and Javi actually had an actress he had worked with before. No, that was her first thing, but I think they'd worked on a short. Somehow, the actress he picked, he loved her for the lead of that, and that's just how that got done. And I ended up auditioning for Faith, and it was funny because I actually thought I didn't get it because they were like, they hired a girl from the CW, and I was like, always someone from the CW. But I'd done this like, 5 episode recurring role on the Tomorrow People, and they were talking about me, and I was like, oh, I'm the girl from once. I'm the CW girl. Cool.
That is
um,
cool.
but I did. I was like at the gas pump, and I was like, why? Like I got it, but I
Now,
think I did.
what out of all the stuff that you've done, what would you say was like the biggest budget that project that you worked on?
Hmm. I mean, it's got to be between Shameless, like a TV show. I ended up, one of those, or but movie wise was probably Rings or Nancy Drew.
Now, are you a fan of independent films and working on them?
I do like them. I mean, I like all films, to be honest. I'm one of those that just like to pretend and get into it, but I do. I'm from Athens, Georgia, which is kind of like a little indie music hub, and so
Yeah,
I do like the. There's just something about not being with the studio that gives everyone a little. I feel like there's a little bit of breath, a little. And if everybody will stay organized, you can make a really good film in a
yeah.
short amount of time, and kind of relax and change things and figure out what you want to do with, studios. Everything's got to be approved. So you
And you
either
got
fight
very
for
little
the change.
wiggle room.
Yeah, you either gonna fight for the change you want to make, or you're just gonna have to make it work for that day. And even and that's another big difference between like two directors is like, and it was crazy for Robbie because he was just like, I don't care what the studio wants. I'm gonna do what I think is right for this. But generally, I mean, they're breathing down your neck.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
they were breathing down his neck. He just literally did his own thing, and I respect it. I respect it.
Well, yeah, I respect that too for him to stand up and do it his way. I mean, they hired him for a reason, right? Now, what would you say is the role that you're known for the most? Is it for Rings? Is it Along Came the Devil 2? When you get recognized, do
It's
people?
always Karen from Shameless. It's
Yeah,
always that. Especially during lockdown, people binge watch the crap out of that show, which I think is good. But I mean, sometimes I'm shocked because I mean, there'll be like an 11-year-old girl, and she'll be like, "I loved your character on there," and I'm like, "Well, your childhood is now gone, so and you watch Shameless, and you know too many funny and sad truths about the world."
I mean, tell us about your experience on Shameless. Like you said, it was a TV show. It was pretty damn popular. What did you? I mean, compare that to working on movies. Did you enjoy TV more or less, or is it no difference?
It's different in the way that like you don't know how the character's ending, so you just feel a little bit blind. Now, not all series are this way, but for Shameless, they want to keep it all under wraps, and so like we might know an episode or two ahead of schedule, but we wouldn't know. Like I had no idea that like Karen get hit by a car. I had no idea she would have a baby. I had no idea she would have a sex scene with. I did know that one because in the British one, Frank and Karen have a sex scene, and so I did know about that. And but that's the main difference. I mean, series are fun because you've got the work coming, and that's you
Yeah,
can keep. And just something about keeping on working, where with movies, I guess I'd say like if like the money was no option, I like the movies a little bit just because you really can like punch up moments or
yeah.
not do it, and you kind of know how to do the artistry. Where you're just on Shameless, sometimes I would just really think they were just making this girl out to be so horrible, and they'd be like, no, 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 you cannot make her nice. And if I tried to make her nice, they would cut it so it looked like I was a horrible person. I was like, okay,
I,
this is the nature of it.
I've asked this question a lot to a lot of actors. If you have a choice of doing a role and getting job security for several seasons, or being in a film where you read the script and you're like, man, this is, and it has a big studio behind it, potential for a big hit, what would you pick? Job security or the potential big hit?
Ooh.
That's a
I
question.
mean, I mean, the mom in me is probably gonna pick that job security, but I mean, and it depends on what kind of big hit. But I mean, I think if it's all the kind of fame, because fame is interesting. I think if you don't know why it's happening, it can actually be kind of annoying.
Yeah.
Like I'll say, like Karen, now I'm totally grateful and totally on board. Like I'm happy with it all. But before I was like, I don't want to be famous for this role. Like I need a different role. Like I want to be on like Desperate Housewives or Grey's Anatomy. Like I don't want to be on it. And then I mean, as I got older, I'm like, wow, like that was a dumb train of thought because now that like Shameless is so unique and there won't be another role like that in 20 years,
Yeah.
where you just love her and you hate her and she's a wild card.
What kind of reaction did you get from fans of Shameless for playing a not so nice character? Because there are fans out there who have a little bit of a hard time distinguishing between character and actor.
I mean, we had some, you get famous and you're in your 20s, you go clubbing. And so I had some like kind of dangerous, like creepy dudes that and then weirdly, I would run into girls sometimes, even that wanted me to be her. And when they figured out I'm not like that, then they were really disappointed.
Yeah.
Because I guess they wanted like a cut through it. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, I don't know if we can cuss on the show. But,
No, you can. This is the internet.
but I think they wanted that. So I learned a lot about people's expectations versus what they're seeing. And then I don't know, like if it's just Georgia, but people have really gotten off of that. Like I feel like there's so many celebrities and actors out there and conventions, and that
Yeah.
now people are so nice and sweet about it, and like so it's been weird to watch how like from 2010, I guess is when that started to
Hmm.
like 2021, and how just people have changed with how they
Exactly.
feel about celebrities and actors.
And I always tell, people who play, antagonists on shows, if you get like a lot of negative pushback, that means you did your job well. So,
Exactly.
you know,
Because
you,
you have like the kid from Game of Thrones, and like he
yeah,
doesn't want to do it anymore because it can be really shocking when you're not ready for it. But I'm like, I kind of want that kid. I'm like, nah, you should get back in here. Like, get back in this room. Like, we loved it. We loved it. And Ramsey Bolton, like, loved to hate that guy on Game of Thrones.
exactly. Now, you said you're a new mom. Is this your first?
This is my first baby. She's 6 months old.
I am going to spare you. I'm a parent of three teenagers, so I'm going to spare you of, the stuff you're going to face in the years to come. But has
No,
become
6 months is the hardest thing, right? They don't do it.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah.
Now, has becoming a mom changed your perspective on your career, the acting? Do you find yourself looking at things, not in life, but in regards to the roles that you do? Do you approach them a little differently?
I mean, it's a good question because I want I still like the kind of nitty gritty, hard to understand stuff, and I love content like that. So I'm not super worried about censorship and all that stuff, but there is an aspect of it that like I feel like it should have some kind of decency to it in the way that I want her to understand self-respect, which sometimes when you're an actor you're like, there's a role, well, me, okay, goodbye. And so
Well,
I
right.
think
I
that
didn't
kind of
even
adds
think
some of
of
that
that.
too.
I mean, like when your child grows up and watches you now acting, what is she going to think,
Yeah, like I don't know what the shameless stuff will, but at the same time, like, well, it's out there, and that's probably like the only thing. There's that, and there's one horror movie I did a long time ago, and I never watched it, but I should have. But it's called The Gansfeld Haunting, and I think there's like near nudity in that or something. But Shameless will be the main one that if she was gonna see it. But then there's also like Nancy Drew,
Yeah.
and understand that art and these kind of principles are about stuff you see and you're trying to express. It's not about who you are.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're doing a job you hate, then I don't ever want her to feel that, like, do
No.
this, cause even if you hate it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now, going back to Rings, what did you know of that franchise when you took on that role?
Oh, well, I had watched. That's the third one, right? Because there was one and then
I
two,
believe,
or is
yeah,
that the?
it's either. I think it's the third one.
I think the second one just feels like two movies, but it was just one. But I mean, I first of all, Samara was when I, God, that came out when I was in eighth grade, so I was very terrified of The Ring.
And it was a
Until
huge hit.
oh, I mean, it was just. I mean, it's a classic,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, even like my niece and nephews know you're gonna die in 7 days. Even if I don't think my niece have even seen the movie, but they know, like, someone calls you on the phone, says you're. And I mean, even like I got to go to Rick Baker's studio when I first moved to LA, and he does all the special effects, and he put the first girl that's like in her chair and the
Yep.
first one that did. So, I will be honest. I didn't think the third one was as scary as the first one, but they normally are
They're
not.
not. Yeah,
Like,
yeah. The first one's always a little bit better.
but that first one like ruined me for a little bit. Like I didn't want, and kids won't know what it's like to have been watching something and the TV goes static. And like that's scary. It used to be really scary. I used to hate the white noise. And the girl, one of the girls that plays Samara, Bonnie Morgan, was actually in Shameless.
Oh.
So I do Bonnie from playing. She played the contortionist in like Kev's. This will be like for super fans. She's this redhead that's like a contortionist at one of the members, like I think it's Kev's bachelor party or
Mm-hmm.
something, but it's someone's bachelor party, and so I knew she had played that, but she was in full makeup, and when she showed up on set as Samara, she got like right up to me and was like, "Hello," and I was like, "She's like, it's Bonnie," and she keeps like a squeaky toy in her bra because she's a clown, like literally a clown. So she's like, "Hi, hi, it's Bonnie Morgan," and I was like, "That was so funny." It made my life, made the whole career great.
Now, when Rings came out, I believe it was like number two at the box office that weekend, and it grossed like somewhere like $83 million on its opening weekend. I mean, that's a lot of money. Well, first of all, where did you watch the final product? Did you go to a screening? Did you go to the premiere? Did you go to the theaters at all afterwards and watch it with friends and family?
I don't remember if I
Well,
didn't
I
go to the
guess
screen.
first I should
I don't
ask.
remember what.
I guess I should ask you first. You have watched the Rings, right?
Yeah, yeah, I know. I've seen that. I just watched it at home though, unfortunately, just because I don't remember if I was working on something because it was in theaters through like December, and then it popped out pretty fast and went straight to whatever it was then. So I don't know. Platforms keep changing on me, so I don't know what they are anymore.
Yes,
But
everything is pretty much all streaming now.
I want to go see that new. Is it a Marvel movie? But anyways,
Black Widow.
no, maybe it's not. It's like an Asian superhero guy.
Okay.
He looks super awesome, and I should know the name. Now I'm gonna be in trouble because I don't know the name of that. But it looks really beautiful, and I want to go see it. He's like I don't know. He's a fighting guy, and he looks beautiful. He's a beautiful Asian fighting guy. Because I don't even want to say the wrong name of what martial arts he practices.
Yep. Just
But
leave it.
like Shin.
Just keep it safe and keep it at that. Now, we don't know yet, and obviously you can't say, but hypothetically, would you be interested in reprising the role of Jordan if it were
Absolutely.
to come your way?
Absolutely. Like I just want to always, I just want to work with them again, but it would be I want to see how where they're going to go with this.
Yeah.
And
Just a little hint.
the,
Jason and Heather are gonna watch this.
oh, well, in that case, we should say something bad about them.
in
Because there's so many bad things. No, there's nothing bad to say about them.
in fact,
They're too pretty.
yeah, yeah, they're like the perfect couple. I sent them the before tonight's show. I sent them the link because they wanted to see it, so I sent them the link. So they're either watching this live or they're going to watch it later on. Now, moving forward in your career, with a new baby and everything, what would you like to see happen? Where do you want to see your career go from here?
I mean, I'd love to get on a series and work on that. I mean, I'd really just like to just get back to work. I think there's there's a lot of people out there with kids and babies.
Oh
So I
yeah,
think,
yeah.
yeah, my husband's a stunt guy. So
Oh.
like he actually worked on Rings, and I got that job because nobody had hired that character of Fate. So he was like, "You should audition for this," and I think we auditioned for it before
So what's it
everything.
like, married to somebody who's in the same? I mean, obviously you guys are not the first, but your husband being a stuntman and you being an actor. What's dinner like at the dinner table? So, honey,
I
did
mean,
you catch on fire today or anything like that?
it can be, and then he might pretend like he's running into something, or I mean, we've got like when Heather and Jason, we were all hanging out, like we were doing wake surfing. So Kyle's got us wake surfing. I've learned a little sword fighting. He's got a big silk rig in the back. We had horses at our house that a friend brought over so she could just practice with them. One time, like, because he worked on Matrix and John Wick 4.
Wow.
So I mean, he's gotten, there'd just be these random friends he'll have, and like, it was funny to be working on something, and Keanu Reeves is just standing there, and he's so nice. He's just like, I'm like, it's Keanu Reeves right there. And then if you say that to him, he'll be like, "Yeah, I know." That's all I'll say.
Now let's see. Working on the film, you were surrounded with like veteran actors, John Galecki. Let's see, Alex Rowe, Matilda Lutz. What was your impressions working with all of them?
Well, I was mainly just with Alex Rowe, and he worked on Vampire Diaries, or the other one, that the CW. I think it's was it Vampire Diaries. See, I'm really bad with the names of things, and I've really got to get back on it. But he worked on the CW show about the vampires, and he was really nice. He was actually part of the reason I decided to move back to Georgia, because he was just having such a blast working there, and I was like, well, I'm from here because I've been lived in LA for 12 years, and I really miss it a lot. But with the COVID and all that, it's kind of hard to
Mm,
bounce back and forth, and
yeah.
so we've stayed in Georgia.
Now, you know, COVID is still around. It's doesn't seem like it's going to go away anytime soon. What's it like as far as auditions go for you? I mean, obviously everything is being done through tapes, but have you seen for yourself opportunities shrink? What's it like?
I definitely think they are being a lot more picky about how they get people, because they're getting a lot more tapes and a lot more submissions, because now you can be anywhere in the
Mm-hmm.
country and you can do it. So, I think the numbers are a little down from where they were when we were just going out in LA. Because it was just like it felt like they were just seeing everyone in LA, and then they'd see tapes.
Yeah.
But now, I'm not in LA, so I'm glad they're not doing it. But you'll get that, and I got like super close to a series, in March, no, in June, May or June. I got like super close to something. It didn't work out, unfortunately. But so I think you just have to be really on the ball with stuff right now, and
Yeah.
also write for it. It's like you need to be, and you have to learn how to light yourself, and so that's a whole other thing too. Now we've got to learn how to, audition ourselves.
Exactly, exactly. Well, that's awesome. Now, would you prefer, like, if you had a choice on the genre that you would like to do moving forward? Basically, what I'm trying to ask is, when it comes to filming horror, how big of a fan are you compared to other genres?
I mean, I like horror, but I like Sam Raimi kind of horror. I like it to be have a little bit of comedy to it, but also
Now, remember, Sam Raimi's, I don't know if you ever saw this, but he's the guy who did The Evil Dead, and that's
and
one
that's
of the
like
scariest.
Evil Dead 2 is like one of my favorite horror movies of all time because it's so creepy and scary as a child. You watch that as a kid, and even his hand chasing him around the house is scary. And then you watch it as an adult, and it's hilarious. But that shot where they're just going in a circle around the house,
Yeah,
that's still really scary. Like the old woman, but it's all horror. It's all comedy.
yeah.
Um, and I thought they did a pretty good job when they brought the series back. To be honest, just seeing because there's that element of like something's good, but at the point they did the series, we knew it was comedy at that point. But
Okay. I mean, I remember this is how old I am. I saw The Evil Dead 2 in the theaters when it came out. I was a kid. I was a very young kid. Now, have you ever seen the original?
the first one,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Now,
yeah,
the first one is just downright scary as hell. No, and you go to the second one, uh, it just shows you the spectrum of what Sam Raimi can do. And then you have Sam Raimi, I mean, he also went and did Spider Man. So he does everything. So,
yes, that's
you have to admire somebody who has such versatility and a really nice portfolio on the wide spectrum of stuff that they have done. Have you ever had a chance to work with Sam?
um not like I mean I did a screen test with him a long time ago, but not like really. I don't feel like that was probably working with him. That was just probably me trying not to be nervous, which maybe I was because I didn't get that part. But like just that those 10 minutes. I mean, he's a very he likes a lot of freedom, and he also is very technical with his cameras. What I picked up from him is he knows, but he doesn't expect us to be technical with
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
He just wants us to be where we're gonna be.
Now take us
Um,
back to the beginning. When did you know you wanted to get into acting? And you're like, this is was it as a little girl? Was it in high school? Later? When did you know?
Well, when I was, I think I knew for sure when I was in like seventh, eighth grade. I actually wanted to be a Broadway actor. Because I auditioned for a Broadway show in eighth grade and I almost got it, but I didn't. And that's when I wanted to start figuring out how to be a professional actor.
Okay.
Um, and then I did, it was like a community theater called a Coney's Playhouse, and a lot of like I wouldn't say like there's a lot of us that have gone on to have professional careers from that little group that started it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, we were just working so hard on everything, that we really got the bug for working hard at a production and seeing it go to fruition. And then before that, I was just that weird kid that was like in a costume, at Sunday school, and mom's like, she's dressed up like a witch, and we're in church and she's fine, and that's what's gonna happen. Because like she tried to get me dressed, and it would just, if I couldn't wear my costume, I was just gonna throw a holy tantrum. So, and I guess you have kids, so this might make sense to you.
Oh
Why
yeah,
she was
yeah,
just
yeah.
go to church in a witch's costume.
Oh yeah. I have a girl. I have two boys, and we went through the whole princess phase and all that. So you always, from your earliest memories, like to pretend and play different roles, just for fun.
I always like to do that, and my dad's a trial like criminal defense attorney, so he's got some he's got some stories. He's a storyteller. So I think I always wanted to be a good storyteller like him. And I was like, well, if somebody tells me the story to tell,
There
eh?
you go. Hand me a script, put me in front of a camera, and I'm ready to go. Well, Laura, this has been absolutely fascinating. Thank you so much for joining us. Just before we go, you've done a lot of paranormal horror stuff. Is that, in the subgenre of horror, as a fan and even working in it, do you like the paranormal subgenre, the supernatural?
I do. I mean, I try to. I even like it in like real life. 'Cause, I mean, I like haunted stuff. I think I like paranormal and like creepy monsters and ghosts more than the murdering
Slasher.
those like slasher things those go overboard sometimes. But then again, you have like Kubrick, and you're like, well, that was brilliant. So, and that's definitely a slasher in a lot of ways.
So if somebody told you, hey, that house in real life now, that house is haunted, would you go in it? You
Yes,
see, I
and
wouldn't.
I would not expect anything to happen
Okay, so you're a skeptic.
because you probably believe it's haunted, but I'm a skeptic, and I would love to believe that there is something creepy and way outside of myself that I can't understand.
No, you see,
Just like
for me, I'm like the complete opposite. I believe in it, and I don't ever want to experience it. I'm fine with that.
that's what people say who have experienced.
Yep,
Hold on, we've got a little
yep,
breakup here.
yep. I think it's coming back. Can you hear me?
I can hear
Okay,
you.
you're
Let's see if
back.
I can
You're
get
back.
it.
Yeah, it paused and then it sped right back up to where we are now live. Anyway, I wanted to thank you again for coming on our show. This has been a fun hour. You are a super fun person. Uh, and thank you for your patience in getting on the air with me tonight. Any final thoughts you want to share with everybody before we go?
Hmm. God, I've got to think of these. Always think of your final thoughts before you get off a show. That's what I'll say.
Okay.
Because I don't have
That's
anything.
good. That's
But I'm
great.
so grateful for being here, and thank you
Absolutely.
for
Thank
having
you.
me
It
here.
was a lot of fun. Guys, check out the movies. Of course, Along Came the Devil Part 2, Rings, Shameless. Where is Shameless available now for people to, if they want to binge watch it?
I think it's still on Netflix.
Okay.
I just go to Netflix.
Go to Netflix if you want to watch
Put that out
Shameless.
there for everyone. It's not free.
Yep, that is true. All right. I think we got another pause there. But anyway, I want to thank you. I want to thank Laura Wiggins for being our guest tonight. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you so much. I think we lost the audio. Anyway, guys, till next time, stay safe and stay walking. Good night.